Hello, welcome to part 3 in our Star Trek Online Shipbuilding Basics series. In this series, we will go over everything you need to know to set up your character and ships, with both beginner and budget-friendly options, as well as premium endgame setups. In this video, we will be going over Starship traits. Starship traits are a significant source of damage buffs for your ship. You can have up to 7 Starship traits if you have fully upgraded your ship. Every Tier 6 ship comes with 1 or more Starship traits. To unlock the Starship trait, you need to level the ship up to Mastery level 5 or 6, depending on the ship. To level a ship, you need to earn XP by using your ship to destroy other ships. The fastest way is using patrols. The patrols Rescue and Search, Ruins of Doom, the 9th Rule, and Wanted Argala system are the fastest ways to level your mastery. Many of the best traits come from lockbox or promotional ships, making them very expensive. But we are going to start off with some traits coming from Z-Store or lobby ships first. If you are new to the game, Starship traits are something you work on over time. Trying to fill out 5 to 7 traits can seem overwhelmingly expensive at first, so take your time with it. The first trait, which is a must-have for any energy weapon build, is Emergency Weapon Cycle. This trait will reduce the power cost of your weapons by 50% and give you 20% firing cycle haste every time you use the Bridge Officer ability Emergency Power to Weapons. This trait lasts 30 seconds, which is also the cooldown for Emergency Power to Weapons, giving you a 100% uptime on it. This trait comes from the Arbiter Battlecruiser, Legendary Avenger Battlecruiser, Kurak Battlecruiser, Morrigu Heavy Warbird, or Legendary Valdor Warbird. All of these ships are available in the Z-Store. The second must-have trait is going to be your Firing Mode Extender. Which trait you use depends what type of weapons and firing mode you use. If you are using beams with beam fire at will, you will need the trait Redirecting Arrays. This trait will increase the duration of your beam fire at will ability by 0.33 seconds every time you take damage, up to once every second. This is not a very reliable duration extender, and still results in a 25% downtime at best, which has led to beam fire at will becoming a less favorable firing mode in recent years. The trait comes from the Tucker, Klothos, and Tebok Tactical Miracle Worker Cruiser, available in the Z-Store. Next up for beams, we have the Beam Overload Extension trait, called Super Weapon Ingenuity. This trait simply increases the duration of beam overload by 5 seconds, giving it a 100% uptime. It comes from the Xindi Primate Ateleth Dreadnought Cruiser, which is a lobby ship usually available for around 250 million energy credits on the exchange. For Cannon Scatter Volley, the trait is called Withering Barrage. It will extend your Cannon Scatter Volley uptime by 4 seconds, giving you a 93% uptime. This trait is available from many ships, including the legendary Defiant, Valiant, legendary Burrell Bird of Prey, legendary Telis Warbird, and the Malem Warbird. All of these ships are available in the Z-Store. In addition, it is available for free from the Core Bird of Prey, which can be earned as part of the Klingon Recruit event. Lastly, we have Cannon Rapid Fire. The trait for it is called Go for the Kill. This trait will extend the duration by 3 seconds when you score a critical hit, and can occur once every 5 seconds. In practice, this will give you 100% uptime on Cannon Rapid Fire. The trait is available from the legendary Jem'Hadar Vanguard pilot attack ship in the Z-Store. It is also available from the promotional ships Jem'Hadar Recon and Strike ships. The Z-Store option would be the far more cost-effective one. Before we continue, a quick word from our sponsor, Lobby Consortium. Lobby Consortium has everything you need for your Star Trek Online adventures. The latest promotional, lockbox, and lobby ships, energy credits, master keys, costumes, and more. Lobby Consortium is run by longtime players of Star Trek Online with extensive knowledge of the game. When you buy from Lobby Consortium, you can expect fast, professional, and discreet service. Check out lobbyconsortium.com today. The next trait comes off the Legendary Avenger, available as part of the Legendary Battlecruiser bundle in the Z-Store. The trait is called Ship of the Line. It will give you a 20% critical severity buff for 30 seconds when you use an emergency power ability, which increases by 10% each time you use an emergency power ability, up to a 50% critical severity buff. Now I want to mention a few budget-friendly traits before we get into the lockbox and promotional ship traits that I would ideally run on an energy weapons build. First up, also from the Legendary Battleship Bundle, is Thirst for Battle from the Legendary Bortask Command Battlecruiser. If you are running a cannons build, this trait will give you a 150% turn rate and flight speed buff, along with 40% damage buff for 15 seconds when you activate Cannon Rapid Fire or Scatter Volley. You can maintain an effective 100% uptime since the cooldown for these abilities is also 15 seconds. Another very cost-effective option is Calm Before the Storm, which comes from the Cardassian Gemmer-class Intel flight deck carrier, which is available in the Z-Store. This trait will give you a 20-second 33% firing cycle haste buff once every 40 seconds spent in combat, giving it a 50% uptime. It's not great, but is a decent budget trait. Another good option comes off the Vodwar Astika heavy battlecruiser called Supremacy. It will give you +2 power to all systems for 15 seconds when you hit a target with beam fire at will or cannon scatter volley, and stacks up to 10 times for a max of +20 power. For a cost of about 250 million energy credits on the exchange, it's not a bad budget trait. The last budget option I will mention is Temporal Tunneling from the Atlantis Temporal Destroyer. This trait will give you a 5-second 100% firing cycle haste when you use an exotic damage or temporal operative bridge officer ability. This can occur once every 15 seconds. Depending on your build, this may be a good option for some extra firing cycle haste. Now moving on to promotional and lockbox ship traits. The first trait I would recommend is Cultural Conquest, which comes off the World Razor Temporal Ops Juggernaut lockbox ship. This trait will give you a 15-second 25% damage buff every time you activate a weapon firing mode bridge officer ability. By using 1 cannon, 1 beam, and 1 torpedo firing mode on your ship, you can stack this trait 3 times for a 75% damage buff. In addition, when you damage an enemy that has debuffed or controlled you, the buff is doubled, up to a 150% damage buff. Next up, we have Terran Goodbye, which comes from the lockbox ship Mirror Constitution warship. Every time you destroy an enemy ship, this trait will give you a 5% crit chance and 25-point accuracy buff for 20 seconds, and stacking 3 times. In practice, you will almost always have a 15% crit chance and 75-point accuracy buff from this trait. Universal Designs is from the lockbox ship Crossfield Science Spearhead refit. It gives you a 2% crit chance and 10% crit severity buff for 20 seconds every time you activate a Universal Console, stacking 5 times. With the Universal Console cooldown reduction from our personal traits, discussed in a prior video, and using the Universal Console Immolating Phaser Lance, which we will discuss more in a future video, it is very easy to maintain 5 stacks of this trait at all times. The last trait I am going to mention today is called the Ruin of Our Enemies. This trait comes from the promotional ship D7 Miracle Worker Flight Deck Carrier. It will give you a 3% damage buff for 20 seconds every time you destroy an enemy, and every 5 enemies will give you a 15% reduction in your bridge officer ability cooldowns. The damage buff stacks up to 100 times, making it a very strong trait in any high kill environment. This concludes our Starship traits video. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe for more Star Trek Online videos. Be sure to check out our next video in this series covering reputation traits. See you out there.